into the world. Because with dragonflies, anything is possible. From a child's imagination to a magical first day of school. Cricket, make moments into memories.
More rewards, more savings, more special offers. That's what new Fuel Rewards members get at Shell.
Wow, it's fucking cold in here. Woo! Alright, 1 p.m. somewhere. And that somewhere is right here. Ooh, that's good. When Philip did his watch through of Ancient Apocalypse, he learned something really interesting. And that is that there are ancient maps that depict Antarctica. And Philip was stoked about this. And so, he made it all of our problem.
But even ancient maps painted Antarctica as green.
Philip, fucking God. Depicted Antarctica. Is that your evidence? I'm gonna assume that you're using this as evidence for Antarctica being green, because it's what you're showing while you're talking about it. How do I put this? What the fuck, dude? Okay, I need to see it on here. Believe it or not, the images that show up aren't actually on the screen. Look, Gianfranco, you can put any image up there right now and I won't know what it is. Wow, I have very strong feelings about this image.
But even ancient maps painted Antarctica as green.
Oh my God, you are fucking dense. Okay, no. That does not mean that Antarctica was green, Philip. That's not at all what that means. Let me make this full screen. What the fuck? Okay, why don't we extrapolate your logic here a little bit, Philip? So if we're looking at this map, which is from one of the earliest full atlases of the world, you can see that part of Africa is green, part of Russia is green, part of the Near East is... Oh no, the Near East is red. Philip, you see where I'm going with this, right? This doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, when they color in, like, states on a map, they're not coloring them in order to, you know, depict what they actually look like. They're coloring them in so that you can differentiate them between each other. They use 3 colors to do this. It looks like they used yellow, green, and red. If the Antarctica was red, would you still be using this fucking map? I don't even know how to debunk this. That's just kind of dumb, dude.
Twice the size of Australia, and was thought to be ice-free as recently as 6,000 years ago.
It was most definitely not thought to be ice-free as recently as 6,000 years ago. I don't know who would ever make that claim. Do you have any idea how much the sea level would have been up 6,000 years ago if Antarctica was ice-free? What the fuck is this about? So we do ice core drilling in Antarctica. You can find little gaseous bubbles trapped in the ice, which can tell us all kinds of horrifying things about our planet. Those ice cores have ice that can go back as far as 2.5 million years. Philip, where the fuck are you getting this number that there was no ice on Antarctica 6,000 years ago? How does that even make sense? 6,000 years ago was like the tail end of the last glacial maximum. Well, 10,000 years ago. It was like 20 to 10 that ended. But still, 6,000 years ago, the Earth was colder than it is now. Why would it have had no ice on it, and how would it have been completely covered in ice since then? What?
This map from 1513 by sailor Peary Reyes shows a perfectly accurate coastline of Antarctica.
Philip, I get that you watched Ancient Apocalypse once, but the least you could have done is at least do some Google debunking. Maybe if you Googled something, you wouldn't be making videos that are dumb. That's not the coastline of Antarctica. That is the coastline of South America. It looks in a weird way because someone was sailing around the continent with a fucking pencil and a piece of paper trying to draw it. They didn't have the luxury of the satellites that we have today that prove that Antarctica is not connected to South America. But Milo, how do you know it might have been that way for some fucking reason? Well, if you actually read the Perry Reese map, it says on the part that should be Antarctica, the place with all the snakes. Now, I'll let you guess which one that sounds more like, Antarctica or, you know, the very hot humid forests of South America. Just ridiculous. I do think it's very funny, though, watching the do your own research crowd clearly have one source for all of their information, and then just, you know, parroting it over and over again, and clearly not doing any more digging into any particular topic.
This map connects South America to Antarctica, which it could very well be that over 10,000 years ago, these two continents were connected by a sheet of ice.
Okay, well, 2 things to note here. First and foremost, that is footage from Ancient Apocalypse. I think I rest my case. And secondly, what the fuck, Philip? I thought you said 6,000 years ago was ice-free.
Thought to be ice-free as recently as 6,000 years ago.
So 10,000 years ago, the ocean, the salt water between the tip of, you know, Antarctica and Terra del Fuego had completely frozen, but 6,000 years ago, it had all melted away. I'm gonna bludgeon myself over the head with this bottle so I can be thinking on the same level as you. What the fuck is this about? That's kind of interesting. How how these people talk about ice. Ice has a really hard time of traveling across water, but it has a really easy time of traveling across land. The reason that the ice sheets got so far in North America is because, you know, they kind of came into northern Canada and then they could just traverse all that land coming down. But they have a lot harder time in water because they float and break and, you know, break off, and the water is salt water, so it doesn't freeze quite as well. So the Earth would have to be really fucking cold in order for an ice bridge to form over the sea and make it to the bottom of Terra del Fuego. You would need a really cold fucking planet to do that. And if you want to tell me that the planet went from being cold enough to have a ice bridge between Latin America and Antarctica 10,000 years ago to having no ice on the whole continent in Antarctica 6,000 years ago, and now there's ice there again, Philip, you gotta get your fucking story straight, bro. This doesn't even make sense.
Yo. Ciao, post-editing Milo here. I want to quickly add something about the glaciers that I forgot to mention in that part. The way that a glacier forms is not by just like rivers freezing and ice magically appearing. The glacier forms from layers upon layers of snowfall. So during an ice age, it's a lot colder, so a lot of the precipitation is snow instead of rain. And so as the snow piles up layer after layer, it eventually creates an immense amount of weight. And under all that weight, the snow is compressed into ice. This is why it'd be really hard for an ice sheet to connect Antarctica to Latin America, because the snowfall is ending up in the ocean, whereas in North America, the snowfall was landing on land, allowing the layers to accumulate and the glaciers to proceed much farther. Anyway, I just needed to come in to add that because I kept watching this video on the editing table, and every time I came to this part, I'm like, if I don't mention the part about the snowfall, it's not going to make sense. Anyway, okay, that's all I have to say. It's a beautiful day. I'm going for a walk. Bye.
Also, when people talk about sea level rise from climate change, the place that all that water is coming from is Antarctica. In the northern hemisphere, all of that ice is more or less seasonal, like ocean ice. There's not a land mass up there, and so because of that, all that ice is pretty much in water, and therefore the sea level is as high as it would be whether it was liquid or solid. But on the South Pole, because it's all on an actual landmass continent, all of that ice does not contribute to the height of the oceans. So if all the ice on Antarctica were to melt, the ocean level would rise a bunch. So this theory is predicated on the fact that pretty much 6,000 years ago, there were no ice caps. We would absolutely know if the sea level was like 300 feet higher than it is now. How much would that even be? How high would sea levels rise if there was no ice? 230 feet, Philip. Where the fuck is the evidence for that?
We're supposed to believe ancient humans managed to find their way around every single continent in the world, even discovering the microscopic islands of the Pacific Ocean. And somehow they just fully skipped Antarctica, even when it was a luscious green paradise?
Yeah, what a bunch of dumbasses. You can find the tiny Pacific islands, like, that's kind of crazy. But you didn't even find Antarctica? God, ancient people were losers. You know what, Philip? That's a good point. I'll agree with that. But let's do a little critical thinking here. Humans were able to find the tiny Polynesian islands, which is a shot in the dark, and yet they did it. So do you think that it's more likely that people never found Antarctica, or if they did, they didn't fucking stay there? Philip, Antarctica is a terrible place. No human would want to live in Antarctica. The only people there are like researchers and shit. There's no plant. Well, there's plants now, but that's a whole different conversation. Drinking to the downfall of humanity. I just read a great book called The Wager. It's amazing. It's about an English ship that gets shipwrecked like off the coast of Patagonia. It takes place in like the 1740s, and it talks about, you know, the journey around and what it's like actually traversing those waters. The waters around the Arctic are so fucking dangerous. There's no reason for people to want to go down there in wooden ships. I also think it's really funny that he says, why didn't we go there when it was a luscious green paradise? Well,
thousands of accessories in stock and ready for install. Radco.
Dumbass, number one, we didn't fucking exist. And number two, it's fucking way too motherfucking cold for us.
We showed up to that about 90 million years too late. I think that where conspiracy theorists get the whole Antarctica being ice-free thing was them vaguely remembering a book they read when they were a kid that talked about how during the late Cretaceous, the continent was near the equator, and it was also the warmest the planet has ever been, and so therefore there was like rainforests on it. But there are not rainforests now. The continent is now at the bottom of the planet, and we are at the end of an ice age. So we kind of missed the mark on that one. It's less of a matter of did people reach Antarctica, and more of a matter of if they they did, they would have wanted nothing to do with it. It is a cold, barren, desolate place with almost no food. Parts of the year, there's literally no sunlight. There's no wood. There is no reason to be there. God, why didn't they colonize the worst place on the planet? Also, another kind of crazy thing that I learned is during the Cretaceous period, which is one of the warmest parts of the planet's history, the atmosphere had 1,000 parts per million of carbon. Now, during the 1800s, the atmosphere had about 250 parts per million of carbon, which is, you know, pretty low. That's why it's much colder. Do you want to know what the parts per million of carbon is in the atmosphere right now? 450. The parts per million of carbon has doubled since the 1800s. But climate change is just the woke media. You know, just keep consuming and consuming and consuming, and, you know, we can all dance on the grave of the planet later. Who gives a fuck?
Back in 1912, Captain Robert Scott led an expedition to the South Pole.
Oh boy, okay, Robert Scott. Well, you know what that means. It's time to talk about the Hollow Earth.
Heavily restricted tourist travel to the majority of Antarctica. For your own safety, of course.
Oh, of course. Of course they want people to be safe. Philip, would you go to Antarctica if you had the option to? Remember what I said earlier about how Antarctica is like the shittiest place ever? I don't think you would. I don't think that's a very nice place to go. I think that you would probably say, no, I'll stick to Aruba, thanks. Although I do have a weird hunch that you're Canadian, so maybe you would go there. I don't know. You have a little bit of a Canadian accent at times, and I don't know if I'm like reading into it wrong, considering you look like you're from like Dade County or something. But honestly, I respect a Canadian frat bro. We don't have enough of them. Oh, anyway, where the fuck was I going with that? Oh yeah, the conspiracy theorists love to like paint this idea that it's like they're hiding something in Antarctica because they don't want you to go there. Hey, and most importantly, you can go there. There are tours to Antarctica. You can take a ship to Antarctica. I don't know why you'd want to, because it's fucking Antarctica. There's nothing there. It's just snow and ice in every direction forever. And when they say that they restricted travel there, they look like, you know, individual travel, like personal travel to Antarctica. And of course they restricted that because it's so fucking dangerous. The ocean around Antarctica is the only, like, unobstructed, like, ocean current in the entire world, and it's freezing cold. If you guys have seen any videos from, like, the South Seas, like... No, of course, they didn't restrict it to cover up the Hollow Earth. They restricted it because people would fucking die going there.
While scouting, him and his crew stumbled on something that no one in the world would have ever expected. Discovers an enormous opening in the icy surface. Him and his squadron fly into it. They're surrounded by a luscious green landscape, seeing giant creatures roaming around him, and he's brought to a shimmering rainbow city. And he's surrounded by these flying disc-shaped objects that lead him to the ground, and he's brought to a tall being called the Master. Well,
no way. Bullshit. Absolutely fucking not. Now, I've come across this theory a lot, and you get a lot of these kind of TikTok conspiracy shills talking about how Admiral Byrd flew through the polar opening and into the Hollow Earth, and his findings were covered up. And I was curious about that, because I've heard a lot of people cite it, but I have no idea where it's from. So, in light of doing this video, I had to dig into it a lot. As far as I can tell, the source for the whole Hollow Earth theory and Admiral Byrd's trip is from this book. While here we have a reprint entitled just The Hollow Earth, the full name is ridiculously long. The full name of this book is, I'm going to have to read it off my laptop because of how long it is, The Hollow Earth, the greatest geographical discovery in history made by Admiral Richard E. Byrd in the mysterious lands beyond the poles, the true origin of the flying saucer. Now I hear you behind your laptop or your phone saying to yourself, wow, that sounds like a reputable academic source, and you would be wrong. The book says that it's published by someone called Dr. Raymond Bernard. It was not published by a Dr. Raymond Bernard. That is a pseudonym. The actual author of this book is called Walter Siegmeister, and it was originally put into print in 1964. There are a few precursor Hollow Earth texts, but this seems to be like the one. This is where all the references
I'll be
to
right back.
Byrd's expedition to the South Pole come into play. Now, what is hilarious about this book is it tends to be wrong in a myriad of ways. One of them is that it gets the dates of Byrd's expedition to the South Pole wrong. It says that Byrd did his expedition in a year when he was actually in the North Pole, and then the author decided to just double down and say that the expedition he was talking about was which is I have no fucking idea what the story is here about this this lost diary thing. It's clearly a bunch of bullshit, because I don't think that the legendary Admiral Richard E. Byrd would have included in his diary 4 fucking exclamation points next to each other. I don't know, that seems a little unprofessional to me. Now, I'm not going to go into all of these right now, but all of that is to say that there is absolutely no credible evidence to back up any of this. If you guys want me to do a video going over these books, I'd be No, I'm not going to say more than happy to, because frankly, I would resent you all for having me do it, but, you know, I have them both, and I should at least probably read them, considering I did give them fucking money for these, which I regret. So, if you want to see the Hollow Earth video, leave a comment.
And maybe these beings and all the flying discs mentioned are also related to all the UFO sightings we've been seeing in the past couple of years.
Oh, yeah, all the UFO sightings we've been seeing in the past couple of years. Can't go a fucking minute without seeing one of those things. I look there, there's a UFO. I look over here, there's a UFO. I go to the fucking gas station, and there's a UFO buying a pack of Marlboro Reds while his buddy is filling the fucking flying saucer with the cool mint zin in his mouth.
Apparently, Admiral Byrd really wanted to share these findings, but was ordered by the military to stay silent about it.
Wow, dude, that's fucking crazy. The military, they're lying to us, bro. Let's not talk about, you know, MK Ultra or anything like that. Let's talk about this bullshit. I don't get why conspiracy theorists can't just be mad at the government for the things that the government's actually doing. But why do we have to make up things to get mad at the government for?
These giant holes have been reported to be seen at the poles on numerous occasions.
I like the images he shows here. The first one is like some sort of like glacial tunnel, and the second one is just the eye of a hurricane. You thought you could pull a fast one on me there, Philip. I know what a hurricane looks like.
In 1829, a fisherman named Olaf Janssen claims to have sailed through a polar opening and into the planet's interior, where he met a race of tall beings.
This is what I mean when I say that Philip yaps. That little clip right there saying that, you know, in 1880 something, a guy named this sailed into a place and met a bunch of giants, takes a handful of words and about 10 seconds to say. This is part of like a 6-minute video. But despite this video being 6 minutes, that's the only information you get on that topic. That's the only thing you hear about it. He doesn't tell you where he gets that information from. He doesn't give anything to back it up. He just states it like it's fact and keeps moving along. So, Philip, you are willfully misleading your audience here, because you are providing information without telling them where it's from. Now, if you're citing, like, common knowledge, that's one thing. You don't really have to, you know, do a source for that. But you are making a really, really bold claim and not even doing the diligence of saying where it's from. So, what is the story behind the guy who sailed into the polar opening? You know his name, you know the date he did it. That seems like you kind of have somewhere that you're basing that off of. Oh, wait, you don't even tell us. Well, Philip, lucky for you, I have made this entire video where I do your job for you, so I'll tell you. That claim is from this book, The Smoky God of Voyage to the Inner World. Introduction. The Smoky God of Voyage to the Inner Earth is a classical, fictional Hollow Earth adventure presented as a true account and first published in 1908. Do I even need to go on with this? This book is actually fucking great. It is like a fun, almost like a fairy tale. It is just a fantastical novel that is written as if it were true, because they don't expect people to take it at face value. The author, Willis Emerson, is doing it as an interview with this Olaf Janssen, and he begins in his foreword by saying this: I fear the seemingly incredible story which I am about to relate will be regarded as the result of a distorted intellect, superseded possibly by the glamour of unveiling a marvelous mystery, rather than a truthful record of the unparalleled experiences related by one Olaf Janssen, whose eloquent madness so appealed to my imagination that all thought of an analytical criticism has been effectually dispelled. Philip, not only are you claiming that this is a real event that happened and not citing where it comes from, but you're also trivializing the actual book. This book isn't meant to be taken at face value. You're not supposed to have to make the decision of it's true or it's fiction. You're supposed to not think either. You're just supposed to read it and enjoy the story. Yes, at the end of the day, it is a fiction book. It says that. But even the author is sort of playing into this idea of, I am going to tell you a story and you're going to listen to it and you're going to have a nice time. No, I am an archaeologist. I'm not an English major, so I'm not going to go into a whole fucking analytical, you know, philosophical rant about what it means to misinterpret fictitious work. But there's a great story in here, a piece of storytelling that should be regarded with some amount of respect instead of just using bits and pieces of it to bolster your bullshit claims to 1.5 million people. So there you go, Philip. I got another free idea for you. Why don't you make something talking about this book? That would be kind of interesting, right? You kind of talk about, well, it says this, it says that, and the other thing. It's all from this. They say it's fiction, but like, what if, you know? I would even be okay with that. There you go. $1 million idea, Philip. Oh, man. Okay. I swear to God, it's getting colder in here. It is not. It's actually getting warmer in here. Okay. Okay, well, that's the end of Hollow Earth. Thank God. Which means now we get to talk about something really fun, like the pyramids in Antarctica.
Now we get to the Ellsworth Mountains in Antarctica. Okay, get your tinfoil hats ready for this one, because this satellite footage from 2016 shows what could be a pyramid buried in the South Pole.
Okay, I mean, I guess I'll give you some credit for could be. Everything could be fucking anything. It's just a matter of likelihood, isn't it? I've talked about this one so many times on short form that I'm not even going to bother with it, but it is a mountain with glacially carved sides. You know, Antarctica being a continent completely covered in ice, this tends to happen. If you want to look to another example, here's the Matterhorn. Sort of a similar shape. That's what happens when, you know, it's got glaciers running on all sides.
And even professors admit it. You know, obviously the Google debunkers will tell you, oh, it's a natural mountain formation formed through erosion.
No, this guy drives me fucking Google debunkers.
But I don't know what kind of looking ass mountains are cut this perfect.
I don't know what kind of looking ass mountains are cut that perfect either. Philip, a glacial looking ass mountain is carved that perfect, Philip. I don't know what kind of looking ass mountain was carved this perfect. Why would there be a pyramid in Antarctica? Well, the UPS truck is here. That's exciting. That is almost so nice. I'm not even going to bother. I'm so stoked about the UPS truck being here that I'm even going to talk about that pyramid anymore because, frankly, it makes me want to.
Okay, so this is a map of pyramids all around the world.
Oh, we're back to pyramids. I told you the pyramids were coming back. It's cold in here. I gotta put my foreskin on. Oh, yeah. That's better. Dude, check this thing out. Isn't this fucking rad? Look at that. Shout out Zvosky Crafts on Instagram. Thanks for the foreskin, babe. Blew out my candle to go eat lunch, and now my lighter doesn't work anymore. My life is in shambles.
Okay, so this is a map of pyramids all around the world, all allegedly built independently of each other and all having identical structures that follow this similar step pattern.
Do you see why I started this video by talking about hyperdiffusion? Philip, you said the same thing when you were talking about the anthropomorphic birds. You were like, they're identical. And I gotta ask, do you and I have the same definition of identical? Because neither these birds nor those pyramids are identical. They definitely have some superficial similarities, like they're both anthropomorphic bird people, and the pyramids are all, you know, pyramids. But that's kind of where the similarities end, Philip.
How I know, most historians will tell you, oh, it's just the easiest tall structure to build. It's human nature.
It's human nature. It's in our blood, baby. It's in my DNA. I will revert to pyramid. Yeah, I've actually never heard a historian say that it's human nature, but I do like that, actually. It's like how everything eventually evolves into a crab. Eventually, all humans will make a pyramid. It's something that we're just implicitly drawn towards. Now, Philip, I know you're saying this facetiously, like historians want you to think X, Y, Z, but there's a reason historians think that. That's because it's the most likely option. So let's look a little deeper into these pyramids, shall we? So the pyramids all have sort of the same building components. Most of them are built out of stone. Some of them are built out of like earthen bricks. I don't think any of the ones he's showing are earthen, but most of them are built out of stone. When you're building with stone, there's only so high up you can go with it. While stone is really strong, it's really fucking heavy, and so you can really only build so many stories off the ground, especially without modern technology, before it becomes a problem. So the solution to that is, if you want to build a really big structure out of stone, the base has to be substantially larger than the top, and that's why there's so many variations of pyramids. The classic, you know, pyramids at at Giza, where it's just like, you know, pretty much smooth sides, or what was once smooth sides. There's also stepped pyramids all over the world, which are structurally more like increasingly smaller terraces built on top of each other. Well, both of those are pyramids. They're both kind of different. This is also where you can tell that Philip has no background in archaeology or anthropology and just listened to Graham Hancock once, because all of these pyramids built in different parts of the world have different purposes. The pyramids in Central and South America are, you know, stepped terraces with a temple at the top. The pyramids in Egypt are burial structures. Some of them have chambers on the inside, others don't. Some of them have staircases. They have about as many differences as you can possibly have for a structure and still call it a pyramid.
It's so easy. Why are our 21st century brains not capable of doing what dozens of ancient civilizations have repeatedly been able to do?
Whoa. Dude, you are asking some powerful questions right now. Honestly, that's kind of a self-read right there, Philip. I think you're the only one who's confused by this. The reason we haven't built any pyramids is not because we can't, it's because there's just no reason to. It would be ridiculously expensive, take up a ton of manpower that should be going to, you know, other things we actually need. So it's not a matter of, you know, why haven't we? It's because we can't. It's a matter of why haven't we? Because why the fuck would we? We have no purpose for them anymore. Our culture does not demand pyramids other than That one. But we're going to be getting into the Bass Pro Shops pyramid later, because there's something there that even Philip hasn't discovered.
All with a nearly identical look, yet built by completely different cultures with zero contact among each other and thousands of kilometers apart. And the pointy Egyptian pyramids look much different than all the other step-shaped pyramids all around the world. But this is just the tip.
Phil, I'm going to be upfront with you. I'm going to say the tip is enough. No more. We don't need any length or otherwise accoutrement to the tip.
We got way more lesser-known pyramids, even older than the Egyptian ones that ain't even standing anymore. Like the Gunung Padang Temple in Indonesia. Doesn't look so hot now, but used to be a step pyramid.
Piece of evidence number 36 that Philip watched Ancient Apocalypse once and decided to make it his entire personality. Philip, you're really pushing the definition of pyramid now. Does that look like a fucking pyramid to you? No, it doesn't. I know Graham Hancock said it was, but you don't have to listen to him, buddy. You can think for yourself. If this constitutes a pyramid, then fucking everything is a pyramid. I'm sorry. This literally just has like some terraces. I'm so pissed at the first place that Gunung Padang got, large coverage to a mainstream audience was from Ancient Apocalypse, because now it does shit like this. We can't even recognize the actual cool, historical facts about this site. Instead we got fucking Alpha Sig here talking about how it's, a pyramid or something. Actually, no, this guy definitely wouldn't have been that. He was more like a geek kind of guy.
At least that's what they thought, until a more recent radiocarbon analysis shows that the lower parts of this temple go as far back as 28,000 years.
Did you do your own research here, Philip, or did you just happen to turn off Netflix as you started recording on your phone? There has been a disappointing lack of really good conclusive archaeological evidence coming out of Gunung Padang, and it's been made even more difficult by the release of Ancient Apocalypse, because it's muddied the waters so much that we don't even really know what to believe anymore. But the general consensus seems to be this. There is radiocarbon dates from Gunung Padang that date back almost 30,000 years. Smoking gun. Okay, pause. What is a radiocarbon date? Well, it comes from natural material, ash, wood, bone, etc. So while some researchers have been able to provide 30,000-year-old radiocarbon dates from Gunung Padang, they haven't actually provided any sort of evidence that humans habitated the site at that time. Inhabited the site at that time. Getting a radiocarbon date from 30,000 years ago is as hard as going to a place that has had forest for more than 30,000 years and digging a hole. So don't let people like this fool you by saying radiocarbon dates to 30,000 years ago, because that doesn't really mean that much. Proof of human habitation and a radiocarbon date are evidence that people were there. A radiocarbon date is evidence that a leaf fell there at some point. Now, do I personally believe that humans inhabited this part of Indonesia 30,000 years ago? Abso-fucking-lutely. We have extensive genetic evidence to know that that is the case. Do I think that there is sufficient evidence to say that the pyramid of Gunung Padang was built 30,000 years ago? I currently do not think so. Okay, so Philip's weird hyper-diffusion pyramid ideas aside, we now have to move on to a video of his that, in my opinion, is the single most egregious pseudoscience video I have ever seen in my entire life. It is one that is so bad, so poorly researched, and so far-reaching that I have literally used it as an example when giving guest lectures at universities. That is, of course, the fucking Bosnian pyramid.
Hey, the real Pharaoh's curse is that we haven't built a pyramid bigger than Giza yet.
Hey, I don't know why this guy is so obsessed with the idea that we need to build a pyramid to prove something. Why don't you go build a pyramid, Philip, huh? Put your fucking money where your mouth is. That's right, baby, we're talking about the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia.
The Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia, and you will not believe what they found there. In 2005, archaeologist Dr. Samir Osmanagic realized, hey, this hill in the small Bosnian city of the circle is oddly shaped like a pyramid.
No. Samir Osmanagic is not an archaeologist, Philip. He is a Bosnian businessman. It is pretty funny, though, that you can see a lot of these, pseudo-science people just getting conned, fucking left, right, and center by businessmen.
This hill has virtually every characteristic of a real pyramid, and we continue to ignore it.
Oh my god, again with this fucking language. And yet we continue to ignore it. We're literally just asking questions here. Why is it that no archaeologist has acknowledged that this hill that isn't a pyramid is actually a pyramid? The Pyramid of the Sun is not a pyramid. Correction, let me walk that back. We currently have no evidence to definitively state that the Pyramid of the Sun is a pyramid. To give you a little bit of background, the Pyramid of the Sun was discovered by this guy, Samir Osmanagic, who is a Bosnian businessman, let me reiterate. So when he found this hill that sort of looks like a pyramid, he thought to himself, hey, I can make a whole ton of... What kind of currency do they use in Bosnia? Bosnian currency. Wait, no. I thought it said USD. Hey, I could make a whole lot of Bosnia-Herzegovina convertible marks off of this.
Is that actually what it's called? Bosnia Herzegovina convertible mark. A figure.
Samir got his start working for gas companies in Texas, meaning that he was reared from a young age knowing how to exploit nature's beauty in order to milk the pockets of a bunch of gullible people. So what he did is he claimed that he found a pyramid in this small town of Visoko, and then he made himself the president of the Pyramid Foundation and, you know, got a whole bunch of money from the government and pretty much made like a massive tourist trap in order to drive industry to this town. Now don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for someone who's trying to drive tourism to more remote parts of the world. But what I don't have respect for is Philip, who's too much of a fucking dolt to actually do any research himself.
To start, it has 4 triangular sides. That's it. Pyramid confirmed. We're done. Joking, but it's got even grade slopes and corners that connect perfectly under the foliage.
No, Philip, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you wanted to do a video saying, hey, this businessman found this place, and here's his evidence for why he thinks it's a pyramid, and then, you know, look at the actual scientific consensus, I would actually be okay with that, because at the end of the day, we do need diversity of opinion in the archaeological world, because that's how discoveries are made. But this fucking guy phrases the entire video like this is an actual pyramid.
Perfectly aligned to the cardinal directions, being only 1/300th of a degree off from perfect north, whereas Giza is 2/60ths of a degree off. Electromagnetic frequency readers saw readings of 60 times more.
He just like rattles off a bunch of buzzwords like the electromagnetic frequency ratings and how close it is to magnetic north and all this shit.
4 other smaller hills around it that are also suspected to be pyramids or some other structures, as is usually the case at these ancient sites.
Usually the case at those ancient sites. Oh boy, he's got that fucking image. The amount of times I've seen these images now, like they're just burned into my brain. Look, here's 4 pyramids and 4 examples of 3 doors next to each other and 4 examples, oh no, 5 examples of 3 things next to each other.
And just have a look at these drone shots and tell me these formations look natural to you.
Those look natural to me.
Radiocarbon analysis taken from the rocks hidden beneath the vegetation revealed that this pyramid would be over 35,000 years old, over 30,000 years older than Giza, during a time in which traditional history claims only tribes and cavemen incapable of erecting such monuments roamed the earth.
Oh my god, this guy makes me have a fucking migraine. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, check traditional history off your bingo cards. You can also check off telling everyone that archaeologists think that ancient people were stupid, which they don't. And lastly, Philip, I know we already talked about radiocarbon dating, but apparently we're gonna have to do it again because you learned fucking nothing. A radiocarbon date of 30,000 years does not mean shit. A radiocarbon date dating back to 30,000 years in a layer that shows that there was human habitation actually means something. Getting a radiocarbon date of 30,000 years ago is as easy as being in a place where something was growing 30,000 years ago. You cannot look at this date of 30,000 years and just be like, yeah, this means that it was a pyramid built almost 30,000 years before Giza. What the fuck, Philip?
For reference, here's a timeline of all major ancient civilizations and structures built around the world. And here is where the Bosnian pyramid would stand in that timeline.
Philip, do you actually believe this? Like, I get your whole thing is you want the clicks, you want the views, you got 1.5 million people, and how else are you supposed to engage them unless you're just lying to them constantly? But do you really look at this timeline and think to yourself when the camera goes off, yeah, I said the right thing there. Look at this. Look at how long that distance is. Do you really fucking think that that makes sense to you? Like, just, do you have critical thinking abilities in your head? You can't have this persona of being, like, kind of smug and, like, you know, everyone knows that I'm saying facts. And then just say something that is just so fucking dumb. Like, it would be one thing if you were, like, talking about, like, actual government conspiracies or, like, you know, talking about things that the government is actually doing in front of our faces. If you were being all smug about, like, the privatization of farmland or microplastics in our blood, I'd be like, yeah, fucking go off. But if you're like, yeah, I actually know the truth. Here is all the wonders of the world, and look at this pyramid. It's all the way over here. But mainstream archaeology won't tell you about that.
Excavations also revealed huge blocks of 7 tons each, stacked with geopolymer binding, which is an ancient type of cement.
Dude, this fucking guy. A geopolymer binding. Philip, you're just looking at fucking sedimentary rocks. Like, oh my god, you believe the words that come out of your own fucking mouth.
Geopolymer binding, which is an ancient type of cement, and perfect placement.
This site wasn't in Ancient Apocalypse, but I'm gonna use this as another piece of evidence because this is the same shit that they said about the Bimini Road and that fucking thing. Philip sees multiple slabs of stone fit really well together, and doesn't realize that it's sedimentary rock that has cracked. Of course they fit really well together. Where the fuck else would they be?
Along with perfectly landscaped terraces and other obvious architectural design, but oh no, these are all natural.
Yes, they are all natural, Philip. Geologists have studied the Bosnian pyramid, and do you want to know what they found? The stone layers, the depositional layers in the Bosnian pyramid are the exact same as on every other mountain around them, meaning that they were all deposited from the same layers because it is a natural formation, no matter how much it looks like a pyramid. In early 2006, Osmanagists asked a team of geologists from the nearby University of Tuzla to analyze core samples at Visokica. They found that his pyramid was composed of the same matter as the other mountains in the area, alternating layers of conglomerate, clay, and sandstone. You could have literally just Googled this, Philip. It would have prevented you from saying something that was wrong. Unless, of course, you don't actually care about what's right or wrong, and you're just doing this to get as many clicks as possible, because you're kind of a sellout.
Note that this was all uncovered up to a meter underground, as would be expected of a pyramid over 35,000 years old.
Yet again, Philip, does that seem like it makes any goddamn sense to you? Fucking God. I don't know how someone's persona can be so smug and so wrong at the same time.
With some even going as far as saying Dr. Osmanagic purposely placed these carved stones here to deceive the public.
I don't even know if anyone actually said this or if he just made that up, because I don't think anyone in their right mind would think that he placed these stones here himself. But notice how that's the only credit that Philip gives to the alternative viewpoint. He's like, and these fucking idiots think he moved them there. Like, no, Philip, that is the lowest concern here. There are so many other things wrong that are so much more obvious.
And famed Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, who oversees most of the Egyptian pyramid investigations, even petitioning the Bosnian government to stop these excavations.
Yeah, not because it's a cover-up, because it's literally just a fucking waste of money. You are paying a Bosnian businessman, a Bosnian con man, fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars to dig up a mountain. If you actually cared about history as much as you do, Philip, maybe you would care about actual archaeologists getting funding and resources so that they can learn more things. Or would you rather keep shelling out, thousands of dollars for the next fucking con man who said he's figured out the key to the world?
Within hours of this international discovery, the story is swept under the rug and labeled a hoax.
The story was not... Philip, you are so... Oh, I feel like I'm having a conversation with a toddler. Nobody listens to me. Nobody cares. Or everyone keeps trying to hide it. They don't want you to know the truth. Philip, it isn't some big cover-up. It's just not an archaeological site. So since it's not an archaeological site, why would it even occupy the airspace in, archaeological communities? I'm not going to waste my breath. Well, I guess I am going to waste my breath talking about a fucking pyramid, but I have a reason. God damn it. I don't know why archaeologists would waste their breath talking about this fucking mountain when we have actual work to do.
50 archaeologists around the world remained optimistic and actually joined Osmanagic's work in Bosnia, with virtually every single one of them who actually saw it in person, confirming that nature could not have formed these hills.
Actually, that's not true. I can find no evidence of these 50 archaeologists. I don't doubt that he had 50 volunteers there who were working on it with him. I doubt they were archaeologists because every archaeologist who's looked at it has said it's a fucking mountain.
Further studies revealing an entire underground tunnel system in the area, the longest subterranean complex of any pyramid in the world.
Whoa! You know why? Because it's a fucking cave, Philip. It's a mountain made out of sedimentary rock. There's like layers of stone underneath that are all really loose, so when the water percolates down, it makes a fucking cave. Jesus Christ, we need a fund education in this country. You can't get me this fucking riled up looking like this, bro, okay? It's ridiculous.
Inside these tunnels, large stone blocks were found that clearly seem to be artificially created.
They clearly seem to be artificially created. What is your expertise in this field, Philip? Now, every archaeologist will tell you that is definitely just a natural rock, but me, the guy on TikTok, I know the truth. You know I said that this is sort of like sedimentary rock deposits? The reason these rocks are so smooth is because they were once carried by moving water. They're like old river stones and things. So...
UPS. Be unstoppable.
Plan your trip at wildernessresort.com. Of course, you're going to find rocks like this buried in the layers of this mountain.
And then placed other artifacts like this giant round stone that no one can explain, a whole bunch of other smaller ancient trinkets, statues, and even what appears to be a map carved into stone. They're all found around the Bosnian Valley of Pyramids.
You're not covering your trail very well here, Philip. You kind of accidentally outed yourself there. They were all found around the Bosnian Valley of Pyramids. That's because people have lived in this valley for fucking ever. That doesn't mean they built the mountain. You're finding artifacts from all different points in time in a part of the world that has been occupied for tens of thousands of years, and then just attributing it to the nearby mountain. Also, is that just a rock that looks like a face?
It is absolutely just a rock that looks like a face.
All dismissed as irrelevant or flat out ignored by mainstream archaeology.
I'm gonna keep chugging Monster energy drinks and eating fucking McDonald's hamburgers because it's the archaeologists that are lying to us. I wish that my prefrontal cortex was soft enough to genuinely be convinced that archaeologists are the ones we need to be worried about. It's so much more comforting. Like, I really wish this was the biggest problem we face in the world. Someone should actually tell Philip what the government gets up to. He might actually be kind of concerned about it. If I could just sit back on my laurels and talk about fucking this mountain that looks like a pyramid, that would be so much better. It's too bad that the government doesn't represent us at all and is actively trying to do harm to our communities. Well, Philip's not talking about that, so I guess this must be the real problem.
Even the peak of the Sun Pyramid forms a perfect triangle with the peaks of the nearby hills.
So this video is a complete fabrication. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, as of right now, there is zero actual archaeological evidence that it is a man-made structure. Yet Philip spends this entire video talking about how it is. He doesn't actually give any sources for this, obviously, so all he does is rattle off a bunch of stats about this pyramid, and then in place of giving any archaeological evidence, he's like, and the archaeologists don't want you to know about it. So, Philip, I did a little bit of research for you because I know how much you care about facts, and you know what? I'm going to even recite it to you. Pyramid mania has descended upon Bosnia. Over 400,000 people have visited the site since October 2005 when Osmanagic announced his discovery. Souvenir stands peddle pyramid-themed t-shirts, wood carvings, piggy banks, clocks, and flip-flops. Nearby eateries serve meals on pyramid-shaped plates, and coffee comes with pyramid emblazoned sugar packets. Foreigners by the thousands have come to see what all the fuss is about. Wow, so sounds like this pyramid thing has been working out pretty well for the town of Visoko. And now again, as I said earlier, I am all for finding ways to encourage tourism to smaller communities. And good on the locals for being able to capitalize on it in order to, support their livelihood. This mountain has turned into a nationalist rallying cry for Bosnia. Skeptics who say the pyramid claims are examples of pseudo-archaeology pressed into the service of nationalism have been shouted down and called anti-Bosnian. Whoa, I don't know, Philip. It sounds like you're getting into a bit of a gray area here. A place where a lie has been co-opted by a political agenda, and then anyone who actually tries to speak the truth or analyze these claims further is shouted down. Yeah, that really sounds like the side that you want to be on. Now, wouldn't it be hilarious if Philip, while trying to do his whole preach the truth, just asking questions bullshit, is inadvertently falling into an actual con man's conspiracy? That would be pretty weird, wouldn't it? His Pyramid of the Sun Foundation in Sarajevo has garnered hundreds of thousands of dollars in public donations and thousands more from state-owned companies. Osmanagic says his foundation has received over $1 million, including $220,000 from Malaysia tycoon Vincent Tan, $240,000 from the town of Visoko, $40,000 from the federal government, and $350,000 out of Osmanagic's pocket. Meanwhile, the National Museum in Sarajevo has struggled to find sufficient funds to repair wartime damage and safeguard its collection, which includes more than 2 million archaeological artifacts and hundreds of thousands of books. Uh-oh, a lot to unpack there, isn't there, Philip? Well, I don't know if this pyramid is real or not, but what I do know is that this Osmanagic guy has made a fucking fortune off of this thing. I also can't help but notice, I have no way to back this up, so, this legally is just a speculation. But a large donation of $350,000 out of his own pocket is pretty interesting, because I happen to know that if you donate a large amount of money, it becomes a tax exemption. Now, it seems that Osmanagic did pretty well working in the oil industry in Texas in his early years, so I'm not surprised that he has a little dragon pile to sit on. But it seems like not only is this ploy very effective at getting a lot of money from external sources, but it's also a really good place for him to perhaps launder some of his own. Again, for legal reasons, I am literally just thinking out loud here. I have no evidence for any of this, so don't take this at face value. I'm just thinking out loud, looking at these numbers, and Philip, I'm just asking questions. Philip, you know how you were just giving shit to that Egyptologist for saying that they shouldn't be excavating this pyramid? You could have told that whole story. Remember how I just said that the museum in Sarajevo is struggling to repair wartime damages? This fucking bullshit, this stupid mountain is sucking up all the air in the room, and actual archaeology isn't able to be done. It's turned into a nationalist rallying cry when the actual national pride that exists in the museum has been destroyed by a war and does not have the funding to be repaired. If you actually gave a single fuck about history, you would be talking about these things instead of just saying whatever will get you the most views. Philip, this is a bit of a smoking gun here, because all this money stuff is pretty shady and you're kind of endorsing it. But wouldn't it be even worse if the government was involved, the Pyramid Foundation's political clout appears considerable. When the Minister of Culture of the Bosniak Croat Federation blocked the renewal of foundation permits in 2007 on the grounds that the credibility of those working on the project was unreliable, the action was overruled by the Federation's Prime Minister. Quote, "Why should we disown something that the entire world is interested in?" End quote. He told reporters at a press conference following a visit to the site that, quote, "The government will not act negatively towards this project." Another member of the National Presidency also expressed support for Osmanagis's project on the grounds that it helps the economy. That doesn't look very good. You're saying that the government is willing to allow a con man to continue conning people because it brings economic revenue to the town. Again, I'm all for economic revenue, but Philip, you are a liar. You are a liar who is now literally supporting what some could classify as a government conspiracy. There is a con man who is claiming that he found a pyramid. He makes himself the head of the foundation where he can make a shit ton of money. Some people with a backbone in the government are like, hey, maybe we should allocate resources somewhere else, and other people in the government shut him down because, and I quote, "it makes a lot of money." I'm going to say one more time, Philip, you are a goddamn liar. So there's a reason I'm so pissed off about this video in particular, and a reason that I have used it when I have given guest lectures at universities, because this fucking video has 30 million views. 30 million views. Philip, I don't know if you have a spine, but if you do, I'm going to appeal to it now. You know what? I'm even going to take off my foreskin so that you can take me a little bit more seriously. Philip, you have an audience of 1.5 billion people. You have a responsibility to use that power wisely. Because of this video, there are 30 million people who may now believe in a lie that you told them, a lie that you had the chance to research and not spread. Now, I'm going to kind of take the mask off for a second here and speak to you as a man to a man. I know you don't believe this shit. We're going to get into your very early videos later in this, but I have seen pretty much every video on your channel. And I know that you're interested in science. I know that you're interested in history. And I also know that this is the shit that gets you the most views. The proof is in the pudding. You saying this bullshit got you 30 million views. But I also have to say that, Philip, this is fucking shameful. You are not only actively doing damage to the communities that provide all of the information that you genuinely care about, but you are elevating a fucking con man's grip. If you do have a spine, you will agree with me when I say that there is no amount of views that can justify lying to 30 million people. For the foreseeable future, this one video is the holotype specimen for pseudo-archaeology bullshit. Because you, Philip, have summed it up in this one video. You don't seem to give a fuck about what's right or what's truthful, just what's going to get you the most views. You missed the opportunity to talk about a lost in historical artifacts after a nation is ripped apart by war, and you've actively taught people to not only distrust but to vilify those who provide the information that you are interested in. If you're actually watching this and you feel fucking pissed off right now, you should, because you should be fucking ashamed. I am going to get into giving you some advice on how I think you should turn your channel around, but purely because this is something that I have actually used in presentations, I have to say, you should be fucking ashamed. Okay, well, that was fucking intense. That's all I have for the Bosnian Pyramid right now. I did add the Bosnian Pyramid to the Wheel of Pain for awful archaeology, so I will talk about it more extensively at some point. I also want to make a little prediction right now. If for some fucking reason Ancient Apocalypse gets a second season, the Bosnian Pyramid is going to be in it. And if it is, I will fly to Bosnia myself and debunk it on site. Okay, now let's talk about
therapy. It's a different treatment that targets PSMA-positive cells. It's now FDA approved as one hormone therapy and before chemotherapy. Pluvicto involves contact with radioactivity, which may increase the risk for cancer and cause fetal harm. Drink plenty of fluids, urinate often, use contraception, and talk to your doctor about ways to reduce the risk of exposing others to radiation during and after treatment. Pluvicto can cause low levels of blood cell counts, kidney problems, and infertility. Tell your doctor if you have weakness, pale skin, shortness of breath, bleeding or bruising more easily, an infection, or changes in urination. Side effects include decreased blood cell counts, tiredness, dry mouth, nausea, appetite loss, joint or back pain, and constipation. Ask your doctor about Pluvicto, because every day without cancer progression is a victory.
The old boom bridge used to transfer 140 megalitres of water per day. The whole region uses around about 300 megalitres per day, so nearly half the water supply come over that broken old bridge. We could have stopped the leaks and we could have patched it up, but New Zealand is, when they bring a fire, it's seismically active. There are earthquakes every day, and so the old concrete box was going to end up in the river. And that's not right. We're not going to get resilience and longevity working without fire. Hey, we need to replace the bridge. We try to think about how we put a bridge in there.
How the fuck did it just take damage?
Working with the regional council, working with our client, and working with iwi, which is Indigenous people in New Zealand. Communication is very important. Making sure everybody is brought on that journey with us was key. The park use, the walkers, canoes, everybody was kept informed. When the project was finished, and we gave the site back to its owners, there was a ceremony held with the local iwi, and an incantation, and a blessing was given. That was very special.
You're fucking ugly.
The uncontested king of bull. An account that I get tagged in so much, it clogs my inbox every single time I open TikTok.
Seeing giant creatures roaming around him, he's brought to a shimmering rainbow city. All of this is in his diary. Built by completely different cultures with zero contact among each other and thousands of kilometers apart.
If people all over the world didn't have contact with each other, how did they know how to put the rocks going up?
You will not believe what they found there.
The single most egregious pseudoscience video I have ever seen in my entire life. It is one that is so bad, so poorly researched, and so far-reaching that I can literally use it as an example when giving guest lectures at universities.
These studies found out this hidden monument is over 35,000 years old and would be the oldest and largest pyramid in the world for reference. Here's a timeline of all major ancient civilizations and structures built around the world. And here is where the Bosnian pyramid would stand in that timeline.
What the filler?
So all the Google debunkers are quick to downplay any new evidence that comes up.
Google debunkers.
The side of the pyramids and the Google debunkers don't want you to know about.
The Google debunkers. The Google debunkers don't want you to know about this. The Google debunkers are trying to cover it up. The government is full of fucking Google debunkers.
Google debunkers, Google debunkers, Google debunkers, Google debunkers.
This guy drives me fucking Google debunkers. I'm gonna be honest.
You know what else drives me Google debunkers? You guys. When we did the premiere for the last episode of Philip Z. But some of y'all came up with a great idea. They're like, Milo, you should make a Google debunkers hoodie that looks like this classic security hoodie. So that is exactly what we did. This idea just cracked me up so much when you all suggested it, and so now it's a real thing. We also decided to add a little sheriff badge to the front because I thought it needed a little more. I was messing around with what slogan I wanted on it. I didn't want it to just say Google debunkers again. I thought like, in Google we trust, or something like that. And then my girlfriend suggested e pluribus googum, which means out of many googum. And I just thought that was so goddamn funny that it made it to the final print. So if you want to prove to the world that you are an official Google debunker, the hoodie is available now. Link is in the description. And we're also going to do an enamel pin of the sheriff badge. I think that's in pre-order now, and the link to that will also be in the description. Anyway, I appreciate all y'all's suggestions, as always, and it's really fun to be able to make something that y'all kind of thought up into an actual reality that you can now wear as part of the team. Anyway, thanks all for watching this second incredibly long part of this video. If you're just playing this in the background, you can clean your house or do homework or something. Sauce speed interaction, like tipping the bellhop. I appreciate it. Anyway, remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and e pluribus googum. get back to the video.
Okay, now let's talk about masonry.
The pyramid of Hellenikon in Greece has boulders that are joined so tightly that even a human hair can't fit through the joints without any sort of ancient cement used.
Give me these bricks. Do you think you could fit a human hair between these? Wow, what sort of lost advanced technology did they use to make this? I can't even fit a human hair between them. You can't fit a piece of paper between them. You can't fit a human hair between them. Of course you fucking can't. They're stacked on top of each other. Unless they were like levitating slightly, you're not going to be able to put anything between them.
Meanwhile, an almost identical masonry techniques was found in these walls in the city of Cusco in Peru called Sacsayhuaman.
Called fucking what? Saskatchewan. I was in this earlier. I'm not normally one to roast people for the way they pronounce things, but then I found this Reuters article. But you couldn't fucking Google that? Sacsayhuaman. It's an even funnier name. It sounds like sexy woman. And I mean, what's not to love about that?
Over 11,000 kilometers away. And how old are these walls? Mainstream history will tell you they were built around the 15th century.
Mainstream history?
But researchers recently uncovered a writing system built directly within the blocks of these walls that's well over 30,000 years old.
I can find no evidence of this writing system being 30,000 years old. I really don't know where he gets that from. But this is more hyperdiffusion shit. You see, he does this a fucking lot. He's like, this thing looked like this thing, red line between them. This thing looked like this thing, red line between them. Atlantis. It doesn't take an archaeologist to figure out that the reason there's so many structures that look kind of similar to each other and have similar building techniques all around the world is because they were all working with the same fucking materials, Philip. There's only so many ways you can stack rocks up. Another little interesting thing that I'm thinking looking at this, so I've been to Saskatchewan, and the reason that the stones are carved like this is because they are in the Andes Mountains, and so it's an active tectonic zone, so there's a lot of earthquakes up there. So the Incans, being, you know, very skilled and not taught by Atlanteans, taught by themselves, figured out how to make their stones almost like giant Lego bricks, so they all kind of fit together in these weird ways. That way, when there is an earthquake, the stones don't all come down. When the conquistadors showed up and decided to, you know, rape and pillage everything, they built their structures, and their structures, so they sucked shit. And so when the earthquakes happened, they all fell over. And they were absolutely furious that all the Incan structures were standing while their homes collapsed around them. Now, a little similarity I'm noticing here is he talks about the Pyramid of Hellenikon, and I don't know as much about that one as I do about Sacsayhuaman, Saskatchewan, but I also do happen to know that it's a little bit of a tectonically active area around Greece as well. So, you think maybe two groups of people who were very in tune with their environment knew how to make structures that would survive there a long time? Or do you think the fucking aliens...
Again, a topic that deserves its own video.
No, it really doesn't deserve its own video, Philip. Just don't even bother. Why did he make a video about something actually interesting? You're literally talking about fucking Sacsayhuaman. It's on its own. It's like just a fascinating archaeological site, and you literally can't even talk about it without making shit up. Like, talk about the history of it. Actually, you know what? No, Philip, please don't talk about the history of Sacsayhuaman, because again, I was just there. I will be releasing a full video of me actually on site telling you the facts about Sacsayhuaman, you know, without all this bullshit laced into it.
This exact method is also found on a site called Abu Vinaku on the remote Easter Island, older than even their legendary Moai heads, as well as Capri's Valley Temple in Egypt.
These methods are identical. Philip, you're looking at rectangular rocks. How many different fucking ways do you think there are to stack up rocks? Please tell me you are not this stupid. Literally, what, like cylinders? You think like spheres or something stacked up? Like every shape that a rock can be and not fall off of the rock under it, humans have built something like that. You are reading into this so much. Holy fuck.
How did our ancient ancestors figure out these identical building techniques completely independent of each other when we still have no idea how they did it to this day?
We do know how they did it, Philip. We know how they did it. Why don't you fucking Google this shit? Maybe you should take a page out of the Google Debunkers book and you can go do some Google debunking yourself.
They're just the start. Take a look at these ancient artifacts from Bolivia, Turkey, Indonesia, and Easter Island. 4 completely separate corners of the world, all with identical carvings and artistic styles used.
Who's your dealer? This dude has got to be like tripping fucking sack. I'm not even this dumb when I'm tripping. Those don't look anything like each other, Philip. I like how he says identical carvings here, because he knows that if he said, look at all these statues of humans from around the world, it would sound really dumb. These are not remotely identical, and you have to be actually concussed to think that there's a similarity between these. Again, they are about as different as humanly possible. The eyes are different, the positions are different. All four of these are just depictions of humans on like rectangular stone bases. How many fucking ways do you think you can do this? I really love the thing that conspiracy theorists talk about where they're like, look where the hands are, and the hands are like here or here or something like that. Do you have any fucking idea how hard it would be to carve a three-dimensional hand? Like, it's not the statue of David, it's a rectangular piece of stone, and they have to put the hands on it somewhere. So of course they're all gonna kind of look the same. You know, what are the ways that you hold your hands against your body? You could hold them like this, you could hold them down by your side like this. You can, what are the other ones? Oh look, that's kind of all of them, down by your side or like this. Philip, as pissed as I am that you are willing to just lie to 1.5 million people on the internet in order to get clicks, I actually take a little bit of solace in it because I really want to believe that you are not stupid enough to actually believe this yourself. If you think that having multiple civilizations making multiple different looking statues of people around the world is evidence of a lost advanced civilization, you're the sheep. You are the sheep.
I know it sounds crazy, but you'd be surprised. Ancient lasers.
Okay, fuck off. Ancient fucking lasers. Got fucking Data Kai here talking about ancient fucking lasers.
From these perfectly cut stone patterns in Pumbaa, Bolivia, to the unfinished obelisk at Aswan and the boxes at the Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt, made of granite, one of the hardest materials ever, with insane accuracy only...
Hey, wait a minute. I fucking watched that like 3 times or 7 times already.
For years, something strange has been happening at the edge of our solar system. A group of icy objects far beyond Neptune are drifting in the same direction. Their orbits are aligned in a way that suggests a massive object is shepherding them into a clustered pattern.
It's always been so expensive. Takeoffs and making these irons, they're so good. When I hit Takeoffs for the first time, wow, unbelievable. I mean, the same feels the same as a very expensive iron. And that's huge.
What was the last time you took a break? I mean a real break. Sad desk lunches don't revitalize us. And doom scrolling does nothing but drain us. Right, Tom?
Totally.
It's time for a tea break. We all deserve a moment to recharge and revitalize ourselves. Tea break! Tea break! Let's make tea breaks happen! It's time for a tea break. It's time for a purely.
This alignment is statistically unlikely without an external gravitational influence. And no, it's not Neptune, it's not Pluto. It's something much farther, much heavier, and completely hidden. Astronomers call it Planet 9, a mysterious world that could be 5 to 10 times bigger than Earth, orbiting so far out that sunlight barely reaches it. And the weird part? There are new signs. From old data, new discoveries, and strange objects that might finally point to where it's hiding. Or maybe we've been wrong the whole time. Has Planet 9 finally been spotted? Or is this the biggest scientific ghost hunt of the decade? Let's find out.
I'm gonna fucking end off this video here, guys. I'm fucking tired.
Two astronomers, Mike Brown,
Don't ask why there's fucking
for a new planet. They were just trying
that.
to figure out why some objects in the outer solar system were acting weird. These weren't planets or comets. They were what we now call extreme trans-Neptunian objects, or EXNOs for short. Frozen rocks orbiting way beyond Neptune. But the odd thing was this. Many of them had orbits that weren't random.
But yeah, I'm gonna end off the video here, guys.
Their paths were clustered
Like I said, I'm fucking tired.
in a similar way. And they all seemed to
So-
point in the same general direction in space. That's not supposed to happen.
Make sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, do it, don't care, can't make you, can't stop you, can't do anything at this point. And
Something massive was tugging on them.
peace.